Have you ever lost something? I'm sure you have. We all have. For me, sometimes I'll lose. Like right now, I have no idea where my sunglasses are. Okay, I have absolutely no idea where my sunglasses are. And you ask somebody, hey, have you seen my sunglasses? And they say, no, I haven't seen them. What, did you lose them? And you're like, yeah, I lost my sunglasses. And then they say one of the most encouraging things anybody could ever say that just makes you want to slap their face off their face. They say, why don't you just go back to the last place you left it? And I'm like, my God, I'm just holding myself back from anger. I was like, what am I talking about? Why do I tell that story? Because sometimes if you want to find, I literally was so caught up in that moment that I've lost my sunglasses, and that was what somebody told me recently, that I got a little distracted there. Why do I say all that? Because one of the greatest ways to figure out your calling and your purpose is to be obedient to the last instruction that God told you to do. Go back and do the last thing he told you to do. Maybe I'm just going to use this as an example. Maybe God told you to give $20 or something. All right. I'm just using this as a random example. And you're like, well, I don't feel calling. I don't feel purpose. God, I wish you would do this. God, I wish you would help me here. I'm trying to figure out what breaks my heart. I'm trying to serve those around me, but I don't feel calling and I don't feel purpose. And God's like, I told you to give $20 3 weeks ago and you just refused to do it. I told you to give that and you refused it, or I told you to sign up to serve there and you refused to do it. Go back to the last instruction he told you to obey. If you feel like I am lost and I have absolutely no idea what my calling and my purpose is, go back to the last word that he gave you. James chapter 1 tells us this. I love it. It says, do not merely listen to the word and so deceive yourselves. Do what it says. Don't just listen to God. Do what he says. Anyone who listens to the word but does not do what it says is like someone who looks at his face in a mirror and after looking at himself goes away and immediately forgets what he looks like. But whoever looks intently into the perfect law that gives freedom, that's the word of God, and continues in it, not forgetting what they have heard, but doing it, they will be blessed in what they do. So what's the picture he's saying here? When we go into the word of God, into the words that God has given us, we see ourselves, it says like in a mirror, we see ourselves for who we really are. But when we go away from the word of God and we go away from the words that God has spoken to us and the instructions he told us to obey, we lose sight of who we are. So what this is saying is this: go back to the word of God. Go back to the words that God has given you. Go back to that instruction that he told you to obey, and you will find yourself. You will find those callings you have and those purposes you have. You will find how you are salt and you are light. You just got to go back to it so you can find yourself. You're not as lost as you think you are. And God's calling you back to the last instruction that he told you to obey. So if you're like, man, I just want to walk in calling and I want to walk in purpose, be obedient to the last thing he told you to do.